Hey everybody, Matthew here. I just wanted to make this video and explain the labels of the guitars. I know it can be a little bit tricky and hard to understand, and that's because they've been evolving over many years. So first and foremost, again, the custom shop is kind of like the umbrella. So all the guitars get built by the MattieLive custom shop. The MattieLive custom shop has a label that builds boutique guitars of its own, and that is called AMC Guitars, American MattieLive Customs. So that goes back to the earliest. The first label that I introduced was PMD Guitars, and that is Pro Modified Designs. Basically, what that is a guitar like this, a Gibson Les Paul, basically a big box guitar, and I would just modify it, whether it was just pickups or hardware. In the early days, they were very, very modest. To wild radical custom finishes and different things like that. So unfortunately, PMD guitars doesn't really do much anymore because, especially with Les Pauls, because of the influx of fraudulent Gibson guitars from China. That market has gone pretty flat. Most people want to leave their Gibsons alone so they can sell them if they need or want to and still be able to retain the value because there's no question of authenticity. So with that being said, I used to do a lot of these, especially with headstock repairs, and then get into doing wild finishes over top of them. Had a lot of fun ones and then a lot of cool stuff, but unfortunately that's just not quite a thing anymore. Second of all, the next label that came along after PMD was the Damon Matthew Guitars label, and that was Damon Matthews. It was basically building a catalog with several different models and a handful of different items, just like the bigger manufacturers do. I thought it'd be a cool idea. Unfortunately, guys like me with these small boutique businesses don't really do well with this type of stuff, and that's exactly why this label stopped right during COVID. So I did take a year off after COVID, and when I came back, I did bring the Damon Matthew name back, but not as the catalog guitar. I started a new thing called the library. Basically, it is an annual subscription program where you check out guitars, custom built guitars, like a library project, or library books rather. And they were different because they didn't say Damon Matthew Guitars USA. They just said Damon Matthew Private Stock, and that is because these guitars are never intended to be for sale. They're strictly for the library program. And there's a video down below that describes the library a little more in depth. So with that being said, as time went on with the library, I found that some of these guitars were losing there was just a loss of interest. So everybody's had them. They've been through the circle more than once. They're just not getting the attention that they once did. So what I decided to do was to take those guitars, break them down, and recreate them, or a custom restoration, for lack of better words. And these are known as the Damon Matthew platform. And that's because this guitar is basically just a chassis for me to build all kinds of different Telecasters with. So that's kind of what this is. It was once a very different Telecaster, and then I just did a custom finish basically for website content. It gives me a chance to do things that I don't ordinarily do, so I can kind of learn a little bit, try different products, different finished type products, and experiment with them. And these often, as you see in the profile, a lot of those guitars get donated to various like cancer charities and whatnot. My oldest brother and my mother both died of leukemia almost 20 years apart to the day. So I do have a soft spot for that sort of stuff, and a lot of this type of stuff ends up going to that. So with all that being said, that is basically the labels. So the MattieLive Custom Shop builds Damon Matthew guitars. They build PMD guitars. They build the Damon Matthew platforms, the private stock guitars for the library. So basically each one of those labels contracts the custom shop to build the guitar. So that is kind of how all of this works. So I hope that clarifies a little bit for you. If you have any questions, you can submit questions on the form all the way to the bottom of the page. And I'll be more than happy to talk to you about anything you want to talk about. So I appreciate you taking the time again to check out the site, and we'll hopefully see you soon.